If you're looking for an easy way to get film-like photos on digital, look no further. I present to you adapting a vintage lens to a digital camera. Now I know I'm going to get a lot of comments saying, this isn't like film, this isn't film, this doesn't replicate film. That's totally fine. I have just found that when you adapt a vintage lens to a digital camera, it helps emulate a film look. A lot of these vintage lenses have a really nice bokeh rendering and color rendering that you can only really find in vintage glass. Now, as many of you know, I shoot on the GFX 100S, love the camera, and I also have this 75mm Pentax 645 lens just sitting around. So I thought it would be fun to rent one of the keep-on adapters for it and adapt this vintage glass to my GFX 100S to see how close of a film rendering I could get from this lens. So I did what any adventure photographer would do, and I took it to Alaska to test it out. Now, before I get into the model shots, I wanted to show off some of the landscape shots that I got. Now, obviously, this isn't really a landscape lens, but I figured I might as well just take it into the field and see what I can get. Even just looking at the raws, there was something about the photos that just made it feel like I was shooting film. I think it was the way that the bokeh rendered, but either way, I really liked the look of the lens on my GFX 100S, and it felt great to be shooting manual focus once again. I really went for more of a minimalist photography style with this lens just because since it wasn't a landscape style lens, I wanted to just find subjects that I found interesting in this specific area, and I thought that I actually liked the way that these came out. As many of you know, I learned photography on film. I started with a Pentax K1000 that I still have, and then upgraded to a Pentax 6.7, and I've sold that, and I regretted it ever since. And so being able to shoot like a film photographer at the current moment was really freeing. If you want to check some of them out, I'll include the raw files below and you can play around with them. Now onto the portrait shoot. I worked with an amazing model named Angela. I'll include her Instagram here. She was an absolute joy to work with. I picked up some outfits beforehand. We kind of went with a fashion editorial style in nature, and I thought they turned out amazing for, you know, the kind of shoot it was. We didn't have any external lighting. We just went, with the natural lighting, and luckily it was overcast for most of it, and it created a nice soft blanket over the subject. Now, it had been a few years since I did one of these modeled shoots, so I was working with the posing and whatnot. I felt like a lot of the poses were the same, but overall, I loved the characteristics of the vintage lens on the camera, on the GFX 100S. And I think if you are a digital shooter and want that film experience, or if you're even a film photographer and maybe don't have the film camera that you want but have maybe access to a lens, I would definitely recommend picking up an adapter that you can put onto your digital camera. I loved manually focusing on most of these shots. Now, I did misfocus quite a bit, and I think I have some changes for that next time. But overall, I really enjoyed using the 75mm f2.8 on my GFX 100S, and I plan on doing it more often. I think this would be a great equivalent for native glass for the GFX if you're doing some more artistic photography styles. If you're a photographer looking to get a vintage look or a film look out of your digital photography, one aspect of that is definitely using a vintage lens. I feel like that will definitely change the look of your photography to make it feel more like it was shot on film. You know, in Hollywood, like a lot of people were obsessing about the FX3 being used for the creator. They often forget that the lens they use was probably like $40,000 to $50,000. I'm not sure what lens they use, but it really depends on the lens. The lens is what makes up a huge portion of the photo, in my opinion. So what you use tells a story, and I wanted to use this 75mm f2.8, and I felt like it was exactly what I needed for the shoot that I was going for. If you want to pick up one of the adapters, I will include an Amazon link below. You can check that out. And if you also want to check out lens rentals and just try it out, rent it, then I will include the affiliate link for that, and you can check it out and rent it sometime. If you liked my photography, I have a few prints below in my print shop. Thank you guys so much for watching. I appreciate you guys. Thank you.